Did you think that Bernie Sanders, who raised $6 million in 24 hours, man, whew, if Joe Biden raised $6 million in 24 hours, I presume that the Washington Post would be building a statue outside its office. I presume the Washington Post would be building a statue right outside their office if Joe Biden raised $6 million in 24 hours. If he raised $6 million in a week, they'd build a statue. Kamala Harris, oh my God, can you imagine if Kamala Harris raised $6 million in 24 hours? They'd be calling the election. Bernie Sanders, raises $6 million. I think he raised it from what did he have? 200 something thousand people donated to him. And literally the Washington Post had 4 negative stories within 48 hours, I think this time. 48 hours. So, I'm not going to read you the whole thing. And to tell you the truth, I didn't even read the whole thing yet. I only read 2 of them. So I'm going to read along with you. So, Bernie Sanders, he raises $6 million in 24 hours. Headline, Bernie Sanders is no big deal second time around. I mean, you just can't make this shit up. And I'm not even going to call it the Washington Post anymore. I'm going to call it the Amazon Post, because that's what this is. This is Jeff Bezos' little love child. And Jeff Bezos, don't think he's, loving. Don't think Jeff Bezos is feeling the burn, folks. Yeah, he raised Amazon's minimum wage to $15, but don't think he doesn't have, a bullseye with Bernie Sanders' face on it on top of his gold toilet and cascading riverfall in his apartment, in his, one of his many mansions. So this Washington Post writer, Jennifer Rubin, a huge neocon, by the way, writes, Senator Bernie Sanders formally announced his campaign, surprising a few political watchers. He sounded like the left-wing version of blow up the system in his email to supporters. Unfortunately for Sanders, nothing he says these days sounds all that revolutionary, given the loud and enthusiastic progressive wing of the party and other candidates saying pretty much the same thing. He cites healthcare, although other contenders have braced Medicare for all. He points to climate change, but a number of Democratic candidates for president have already signed onto the Green New Deal. He wants to stop demonization of immigrants, but Beto O'Rourke, who is reportedly still mulling a presidential run, and others have been saying that for months. Free college tuition? Yawn. We've seen that proposal. Oh, yawn. In short, Sanders is offering a little different from many younger, less cranky Democrats, including non-white candidates who haven't struggled to win over African Americans and women, and who haven't had to explain complaints of sexual harassment in their campaigns. Oh boy. So where do I even start with that? Because this isn't just unique to the Washington Post. This is actually becoming one of the talking points that you see on CNN. I've seen it on MSNBC. I've seen it in the New York Times. I've seen it in the Washington Post. I've seen it. And that is, well, is Bernie, a victim? Is he a victim of his own success? I love this. This would be like if you follow basketball, like LeBron James, who's the best player in the NBA. This would be like, all right, LeBron James came in and revolutionized modern day basketball, playing with a certain style. And as such, other players came in and are playing that way too. So maybe LeBron James should just retire because, well, there's other players playing like LeBron James. Look at that. Well, why would we want LeBron James, the original OG, to retire? Because other people came in playing a similar way? That makes no sense. If you're following me. If you're not, let me repeat it. So this notion that, well, Kamala Harris says she's Medicare for all, so who needs Bernie? And Cory Booker says he's for Medicare for all, so who needs Bernie? And Kirsten Gillibrand says he's for Medicare for all, so who needs Bernie? Yeah, well, Donald Trump said in an interview he was for covering everybody. Remember? He said, I'm for covering everybody. It's not going to be popular in the Republican Party. Is Donald Trump pushing Medicare for all? Hillary Clinton said she was for a lot of things. And very quickly moved away from those things after she became the Democratic nominee. Hillary Clinton flip-flopped all over the place as a politician for 20 years. Mitt Romney said he was for a lot of things that he previously wasn't. So am I supposed to believe Jennifer Rubin at the Washington Post and CNN and MSNBC and all these people who are deranged? I mean, it is such an intellectually dishonest take to respond to Bernie Sanders launching his campaign, making record fundraising numbers in one day. Nobody has ever raised that much money in one day. And your response is, oh, he's not going to be so great the second time around. Oh, you know, he's not really needed because all these other people are saying what his policies. Key word, saying they are for these things. But, you know, Miss Rubin and all these people, well, Kamala Harris, like within 24 hours, moonwalked the hell away from Medicare for all. And frankly, if I'm keeping it real, Elizabeth Warren says she's for Medicare for all. I don't really hear her talking about it much on the campaign trail. When she was asked about it by a reporter recently, she didn't really elaborate. Bernie Sanders leads with Medicare for all. Kirsten Gillibrand, oh, suddenly she's for Medicare for all? Well, look at her record. Look at her donors. She's been dialing Wall Street people right before she announced she was running to see if they'll fund her campaign. You think she's really going to push for Medicare for all? So, you know, these people at Washington Post, and they're not journalists, they're just hacks, and CNN and all these people, they pretend that just because a candidate says they're for something, that we should just totally push away our critical thinking skills and just take them on faith. You know, Hillary Clinton says, I'm a progressive who gets things done. Done. Can we elect her? Maybe part of the problem in this corrupt political system we have is we've taken politicians at their word during the campaign and then kept on reelecting them when they didn't even fight for the things we want. It's unbelievable. You don't have to be for Bernie Sanders, but at least give him his due. Jesus, the Washington Post. You have no credibility. And you have a $600 million contract with the CIA. And you have a rather large contract with the Pentagon. Did you know Jeff Bezos is on a board at the Pentagon? Did you know this?